This is where East meets West. Sarajevo, capital of Bosnia and Herzegovina. The old Turkish city and centuries of Ottoman domination. Byzantium and Orthodox Christianity, but also the Austro-Hungarian town, cathedrals, Jewish influences, and the corner where the Archduke Franz Ferdinand was assassinated in June 1914. But behind the facades, the scars of the Bosnian War remain painfully visible. Launched in 1992 by Serbian nationalists against the freshly independent country, the death toll reached 100,000. Its fire still smolders. This is the man blowing on the embers. Milorad Dodik, leader of the Republika Srpska, the Serbian-dominated part of Bosnia and Herzegovina, the ally of Beijing and Moscow in the Balkans, here in one of his propaganda clips. For Dodik, Bosnia is an artificial country. For years, he has advocated for secession. December 2022, at the EU's Western Balkans summit, everybody feels that the tensions have been exacerbated by the war in Ukraine. To avoid the conflict spreading to Bosnia and Herzegovina, the leaders decided to grant the country urgently candidate status to the EU.
Wir merken sehr deutlich, dass der Ukraine-Krieg ja nicht nur der grausame Krieg Russlands gegen die Ukraine ist, sondern auch eine Frage ist, setzen sich die Autokratien und das Recht des Stärkeren durch oder setzt sich die Demokratie und der Rechtsstaat durch? Und dieses Ringen merkt man auch im Westbalkan. Russland versucht Einfluss zu nehmen, China versucht Einfluss zu nehmen. Und deshalb geht die Diskussion eben auch darum, ihr müsst euch entscheiden.
28 years after the Dayton peace agreements, which ended the war, Bosnia remains a small, pivotal state, fragile and divided. Bosnia, the country of three constituent people, Bosniaks, Serbs and Croats. Bosnia, proof that it is very difficult to bring war to an end, and even more complicated, to bring a genuine peace. Every year, thousands of marchers commemorate the fall of Srebrenica. On the 11th of July 1995, the Bosniak enclave abandoned by the UN fell into the hands of General Ratko Mladic's Bosnian Serb troops. They would assassinate over 8,000 Bosniak men. Thousands were killed as they attempted to flee on the long and tragic Death March.
Naravno, ja sam se dalje iz tog mjesta trudio radi obećanja mojoj majci da ćemo doći nas dvojica, bukvalno da brata vodim za ruku kao roditelj dijete. Nažalost, završilo je kako je završilo.
Hajde dolam, ja sam dolam, slobodno kod Srba!
This remains the only recognized genocide in Europe since World War II.
Na ovoj lokaciji je ostalo dosta od tijela koja su pobijena. Pantalone, kompas, ključ kugle.
The commemorative march is multi-ethnic. A majority of Bosniaks, but also Croats, Serbs, people from all over the world. Many are worried. The war in Ukraine has awoken barely healed wounds.
Ich komme zwar aus Sančak, das ist Südserbien, aus Prijepolje, aber ich habe sehr viel Familie hier in Bosnien. Ich kenne die Geschichte natürlich. Es sind viele Parallelen zu Ukraine-Krieg, aber diese Albträume kommen immer wieder. Das erzählen die alten Leute, ja. Es sind grausame Geschichten passiert und sie hoffen alle, dass das nie wieder in dieser Form vorkommt. Bosnien ist immer noch geteilt. Wirtschaftlich ist Bosnien sehr, sehr schwach. Aber die Menschen an sich, die wollen alle zusammenleben. Immer noch ist der Wunsch da.
Bosnia remains a widely mixed state. The last census in 2013 counted 1,800,000 Bosniaks, often urban and secularized Muslims. More than 1 million Serbs of Orthodox culture. 570,000 Croats, mostly Roman Catholic. Plus Jews, Roma, and many citizens who reject such ethnic affiliations. Most of them want to live together in peace, but not all.
Ja mislim da bi bolje bilo za narode u Bosni i Hercegovini da smo se razišli i da smo imali svoje posebne države. Hrvati bi vjerovatno se pripojili Hrvatskoj, Srbi bi imali svoju zasebnu već formiranu državu koja se zove Republika Srpska, tražili bi neko povezivanje sa Srbijom, a muslimani bi ostali onome što su oni mogli da kontrolišu kao zasebna država koja bi se mogla zvati Bosna.
Except that this would validate the goals of the Bosnian War and unravel the current state, recognized by the whole world, including Croatia, an EU member, and Serbia. Bosnia and Herzegovina is a state composed of two entities: the Bosno-Croat Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina, capital city Sarajevo, and the Republika Srpska, ruled from Banja Luka, with its own flag, its administration, its textbooks. This is the fiefdom of Milorad Dodik. Not to forget some Croats who still dream of their own third entity in the western part of the country, which would divide Bosnia even further.
Osobno mislim da je se država trebala napraviti kao federalna država, u kojoj su trebale biti 3 federalne jedinice. Ideja od 2 entiteta sa 3 konstitutivna naroda samo po sebi je bila problematična.
Amid all these tensions, the peace march reaches Srebrenica, its destination. Every 11th of July, thousands of Bosniaks gather to commemorate the genocide of 1995. The former base of Dutch UN peacekeepers has been transformed into a memorial. Each year, the bodies of victims found during the preceding 12 months await their burial there. Many officials from the Federation have come to make more or less conciliatory speeches, as have ambassadors from Europe, the United States, Turkey, different Arab countries. High representatives of the UN and NATO are also concerned by the growing infighting. But there are no Bosnian Serb authorities to be seen, nor any officials from Russia, China, or Serbia. In Bosnia, one feels the world's division. The pacification of the country and its memories is slow. As proof, just outside the town, Bosnian Serb activists have displayed portraits of their war victims. Many see that as a provocation to minimize and trivialize the Bosniak victims of Srebrenica. It's also a way to mark territories.
Eto ja ću treći, ovo su ti srpske žrtve. I moj brat je među njima.
3267 žrtava, do 95. je poginulo.
Ja se potresim kad ovo pričam.
Bosne i Hercegovine je zadnji domet pravoslavnog svijeta. On počinje od Moskve i završava tu negdje u Banja Luci. Dalje, na zapad nema pravoslavaca. Slična stvar je sa katoličkim svijetom. On kreće iz Europe i završava tu, negdje na Balkanu, u Bosni i Hercegovini. Također, ista stvar sa islamskim svijetom. Dakle, tu se dotiču svijetovi, a gdje se te ploče dotiču, tu dolazi do nekih tektonskih poremećaja.
(1992). The war incited by the dissolution of former Yugoslavia has turned into Europe's bloodiest conflict since 1945. Ethnic cleansing has chased away hundreds of thousands of inhabitants. The siege of Sarajevo drags on. All peace efforts have failed. Bosnia is decimated. After Srebrenica, during the summer of 1995, Washington decided to put an end to the carnage. On the ground, a Bosnian-Croat offensive and NATO bombings weakened the Serbs. After months of shuttle diplomacy between Belgrade, Zagreb, and Sarajevo, the American diplomat Richard Holbrooke summoned the warring parties to a huge airbase in the middle of nowhere in Dayton, Ohio. On November the 1st, Holbrooke welcomed all delegation leaders. Slobodan Milosevic, the Serbian president, who would negotiate on behalf of the Bosnian Serbs.
Well, I'm optimist. I believe the talks will succeed.
Franjo Tudjman, the president of Croatia, representing the Bosnian Croats. And Alija Izetbegovic, the president of Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Moderate optimistic, how to say? Moderate.
Pričao mi je, dakle, mnogo o samoj atmosferi, tim pregovorima. Oni su bili zatvoreni u vojnu bazu iz koje nisu izlazili. I to je bio dio taktike, da ih se prisili da se kao i ljudi, dakle, približavaju.
Ja sam u Daytonu bio član državne delegacije Bosne i Hercegovine, jer sam ja u tom trenutku bio član predsjedništva države BiH. Je bilo najvažnije to da se sačuva cjelovitost države Bosne i Hercegovine, da se sačuva, dakle, njen teritorijalna cjelovitost u međunarodno priznatim granicama.
4 years of war had hardened the positions. For 3 long weeks, every village, every neighborhood, every mountain was up for negotiation.
U Daytonu se zaista najviše razgovaralo o teritorijama, koji dio Bosne i Hercegovine da pripadne pod administraciju Republike Srpske, odnosno pod administraciju Federacije. I Holbrooke je u tom smjeru vodio pregovore. Ostali su politički ciljevi. To očito američkoj administraciji nije bilo važno. Njima je bilo važno da se zaustavi rat.
Negotiations were tense. Several times the talks almost collapsed. Finally, it was agreed which 51% of the territory would go to Bosniaks and Croats, and which 49% to Bosnian Serbs. But there was little time left to draft a constitution. Each of the three so-called constituent peoples would have to make compromises.
This is the most difficult thing after the war. To understand that those that were enemies yesterday are going to be partners tomorrow. It takes some time. And reconciliation is an extremely difficult thing to do. It's very easy to start wars, but it's very difficult to build a genuine peace.
Bosnienserberna fick ju ingen självständig stat. De blev en del av ett enat Bosnien. Bosniakerna fick inte en enhetsstat som kunde styras med majoritetsbeslut. Det var ju deras dröm eftersom de var de största befolkningsgruppen. Så ansåg de att de då skulle kunna ha ett mycket större inflytande. Så att de fick acceptera ett federalt Bosnien.
The Croats did not get their own entity the hardliners were pushing for, but they got control of certain counties in the federation.
Kažu da je bolje pregovarati 10 godina nego 10 dana ratovati. I otprilike za mene je to Dayton. On je prekinuo krvoproliće, on je prekinuo dalje razaranje faktički jednog multietničkog tkiva Bosne i Hercegovine. Tako da je Dayton prekinuo rat, prekinuo razaranja, poraste mržnji, želje za osvetama i to je dobra strana Daytona.
Paris, a month later. The great powers meet for the official signing of the Dayton Peace Accords, including, at the time, Russia. Dayton gave birth to the current state, with its rotating three-party presidency, 14 governments and 165 ministers, and quotas reserved at every level for Bosniaks, Serbs, and Croats. It's one of the most complicated constitutions in the world.
Dejtonskim sporazumom Bosna i Hercegovina je učinjena jednom nefunkcionalnom državom, neracionalnom državom i nedemokratskom državom. Dejtonskim sporazumom nisu izjednačena prava svih građana naše zemlje. Ona je nefunkcionalna jer ima više nivoa vlasti nego što je potrebno. Dakle, mi imamo najveći broj ministara na svijetu. Ja mislim, ne postoji manja država, a da ima toliki broj ministara. Imamo jako veliku administraciju koja troši preko 60% društvenog bruto proizvoda. Pa je ovaj sistem ovakav je neracionalan.
Years later, Bosnians have given the post-Dayton institutions all sorts of nicknames. Frankenstein, puzzle, straitjacket. Once a refugee in Berlin, lawyer Emina Herdic returned to Sarajevo 16 years ago. She clearly sees the progress of her country since 1995. Common currency, common license plates, a common central bank and army. But like most Bosnians, she also readily makes fun of this overly complex state.
Ovdje se nalazimo ispred zgrade predsjedništva koja se nalazi ovdje iza mene. Divna zgrada, složit ćete se. Tu nam sjede 3 predsjednika, 3 člana predsjedništva, tačnije rečeno. To nam je poklon Dejtonskog sporazuma. Tolike zemlje, pa imate jednu veliku Ameriku, toliko stanovnika i toliko sa jednim predsjednikom, a mi imamo naša 3 člana predsjedništva. I vjerujte mi da puno ljudi koji danas vidite ovdje na ulicama ni sami ne bi mogli da vam opišu na koji način je to sve komplikovano postavljeno ovdje.
At the center of Sarajevo, another remnant from Dayton. The office of the High Representative of the United Nations for Bosnia and Herzegovina. Guardian and guarantor of the peace accords, he can enforce laws and remove corrupt officials. Christian Schmidt, a former German Minister of Agriculture, values highly his copy of the Dayton Accords, which grants him these extraordinary powers.
Ich wusste, dass es kompliziert sein wird, aber offen gesagt, dass es so kompliziert ist, habe ich mir nicht vorgestellt. Hier sind die Unterschriften. Izetbegovic, dürfte Tudjman sein, Jugoslawien, leider auch Herr Milosevic. Ganz wichtig, Artikel 5. The High Representative is the final authority. Also die letzte Entscheidung liegt bei mir. In Wahrheit hatte die internationale Gemeinschaft in dem Zeitpunkt, in dem die wesentlichen Dinge auf den Weg gebracht worden waren, Staatsaufbaugesetze von meinen Vorgängern 2005, 2006, 2007, den Eindruck, es knallt nicht mehr, man hört nichts mehr, also scheint das Ding ganz gut zu funktionieren. Man hatte das Interesse verloren.
But in the fall of 2021, Christian Schmidt had just arrived. There was a rude awakening. Taking advantage of crises in the Middle East and in Ukraine, Dodik threatened to annex the Serbian part of the army, as well as tax, border, and health services. Panic ensued in the Western embassies. This would kill the fragile common institutions.
Die Besorgnis war in der Tat im Herbst sehr groß. Damals sagte Herr Pauer, der slowenische Staatspräsident, mir gegenüber, people are talking about dissolution. Sie sprechen über Auflösung des Staates. Aber Sie müssen wissen, es gibt keine friedliche Auflösung des Staates in dieser region.
Nije bilo reakcije međunarodne zajednice. To je jako hrabrilo onda separatističke snage u Bosni i Hercegovini. Ostili su da se otvara prostor za njih. Promjena odnosa snaga, povlačenje Amerikanaca iz Sirije, iz Afganistana, jačanje Rusije, jačanje Kine, također je ohrabrilo te strane.
Herr Dodik ist jetzt von seiner Statur, bei allem Respekt, ja eher auf der eines Landrats zu sehen und nicht auf der eines Staatenlenkers. Wenn er Platz und Aufmerksamkeit findet in Moskau, dann deswegen, weil man glaubt, man kann seine Einflussmöglichkeiten nutzen zur Destabilisierung.
May 2022. The crisis in Bosnia has reached the Security Council, deeply divided by the war in Ukraine.
I invite Mr. Christian Schmidt, the High Representative for Bosnia and Herzegovina, to participate in this meeting.
Russia has already been trying to destabilize Moldova, Georgia, Bulgaria. The Wagner Group is recruiting in Serbia. Will Bosnia and the Office of the High Representative be next in line?
In Sarajevo, protesters gathered in front of my office, appealing for my intervention to prevent that from happening. We will not sit still as parties seek to dismantle 26 years of peace, stability and progress.
Не рассматриваем гражданина Германии Кристиана Шмидта в качестве легитимного высокого представителя. Хотели бы подчеркнуть, что господин Шмидт не имеет права выступать от имени международного сообщества.
In Bosnia, too, Schmidt is under increasing criticism. Many citizens condemn his authoritarian style and his partisan support of Bosnian Croats. But neither the United States nor Europe would dare shut down the office. The High Representative remains one of the few people left who can block Dodik's secessionist moves.
Today, as High Representative, I have issued an order suspending application of the Republika Srpska law on immovable property. I have made the use of my executive powers to bring the country ahead and to bring some people to reason. Thank you very much. Auf Wiedersehen.
Ja sam 10. put pobjedio na izborima ovdje. I onda vam dođe neki stranac koji vam kaže to nije dovoljno da ste vi imate legitimitet. Ako ne može da Bosna i Hercegovina funkcioniše bez stranih tutora 30 godina nakon potpisivanja Daytonskog sporazuma, a ne može, onda ne treba ni da postoji. Rusija nikada nije bila zemlja koja je ovdje nama nametala rješenje.
In the Republika Srpska, though, Russian influence can be found everywhere. Ivana Korelic is executive director of the NGO Transparency International in Bosnia. One of Dodik's personal foes, she has been denouncing the local corruption for years, directly or through foreign countries.
Pošto mi smo juče diskutovali kome se prvo obrati, ja sam rekla zato prvo da idemo na ministarstvo, pa...
Dayton Agreement makes our job more difficult in terms of having to basically monitor 13 or 14 governments at the same time, having to look at all the levels of the government, and basically having too many people in a position to have power, to have the opportunity to steal public funds, to abuse their positions.
For Ivana and her team, the privatization of the oil industry in the Republika Srpska is a textbook case, with covert payments and kickbacks.
The industry was bought supposedly by two Russian companies, Neftgazinkor and Zarubezhneft. But there is still a large percentage of ownership of this group of investors that is suspected to actually belong to people from the local government, either Dodik or people close to him. We can only speculate because this was kept secret. And the so-called consortium of the companies who bought the refinery was seated in Moscow at a post office box, you know. This was all a project to basically, on one hand, launder dirty money, on the other, loot the resources here and extract these funds somewhere else.
In recent years, Milorad Dodik has tried many ways of pleasing Moscow. This temple, dedicated to Serbian and Russian friendship, will stand right in the heart of Banja Luka, close to the central administration and public television. But the Russian funding for the project has yet to arrive.
It's a strange temple, just one of the examples of Milorad Dodik here in Republika Srpska, showing that he has great relationship with Putin, with Russian officials. It was presented as a part of the Russia investing in Republika Srpska. At the same time, all of the money for this, the construction of this object basically came either from Republika Srpska or from Serbia.
In Bosnia, the fight against corruption remains complicated. In Sarajevo, Transparency International has invited all parties to discuss the issue. All parties have responded, all except Dodik's Serbian Social Democratic Party and the Croatian Democratic Union. In Parliament, these parties have blocked anti-corruption laws required by the EU. Their leaders carry on doing business.
These autocrats like to hang out together and support each other. So recently, when there was a situation and talk about sanctioning Dodik for his secessionist intentions, Orban was his biggest ally within the EU, basically coming to Banja Luka to meet him in a restaurant where they made all sorts of deals. And after that, we can see an increase of the Hungarian money and companies including money for agriculture, but also concessions for solar plants. This can be seen as a consequence of this support because nobody is giving anything for free.
Collusions and corruptions are ravaging even Bosnia's famous rivers. For years, activist Sabina Sabic has been fighting with many environmental groups against the construction of so-called mini dams. But here too, the Dayton legacy makes their life complicated.
Drina, Sava, sve veće rijeke zapravo protiču kroz cijeli Balkan i one nas spajaju zaista. Nažalost, da strani investitori znajući da mogu dobiti dozvole preko reda ili graditi bez dozvola ili da mogu pomjeriti zakon da bi se jedna velika brana napravila, dolaze na Balkan. Dolaze da kopaju rudnike i naši prirodni resursi su već godinama, ako ne i deceniju, ugroženi kao i naši životi.
Like many other activists, Sabina regularly comes across disputed construction sites of mini dams. Some 3,000 are slated throughout the Balkans. In Bosnia alone, 150 have been constructed, with permits often obtained through bribery. Investors are local or come from Serbia, Austria, and even China, attracted by the Balkans' hydropower and raw materials. In Tuzla, one of Europe's most polluted cities, Chinese entrepreneurs have been trying to expand the operation of a huge coal power plant. So far, the city and its inhabitants have resisted. Meanwhile, in the Republika Srpska, China has recently signed contracts to build highways. In Sarajevo, Sabina and a coalition of NGOs have recently managed to prohibit the construction of dams, a real victory. But because of Dayton, the decision is only valid for the Federation, half of the country. To apply it to the Republika Srpska would need another court decision.
That's the absurd of Bosnia. Bosnia and Herzegovina has such beautiful nature. You have now many of the Arab tourists coming here just to enjoy this.
Sabina continues to fight, but she knows that the control of the big parties over the country's politics and economy is tough.
It is easier if you join some of the parties to get a job because they are buying your loyalty and your votes, and then they can control the institutions. This is how it's easy to control people, some part of the citizens, because we are stuck. In this country, as long as the people are separated, it will be more space for making profit and crimes and corruption.
October 2022. The general elections in Bosnia are exacerbating tensions and instability. As always, multi-ethnic parties hope to change the narrative and upset the power of the ethnic nationalists.
Dobar dan. Kandidati naše stranke za predstojeće izbore. Izlazite na izbore, je li tako?
Da, kako
hoćete nas podržati?
Kako da
Hvala vam puno. Hvala lijepo.
Emina Herdic, the young lawyer, is supporting Naša stranka, our party, pro-European and well-established in Sarajevo.
Naša stranka. Ostale političke partije nam uglavnom nude neke nacionalističke priče, neke ratnohuškačke teme koje su ljudi više siti. I mi smo došli tu da kažemo da ne želimo da pričamo više o tim temama. Upravo zato sam se uključila u ovu stranku, našu stranku, da pokažemo da možemo drugačije i da ova zemlja, naša zemlja, zaslužuje bolju budućnost. Mladi uglavnom gledaju upod. Oni nešto nisu baš zainteresovani, verovatno zbog čitave političke situacije u Bosni i Hercegovini. Hvala lijepo. Poštovanje.
Facing them, the stronger and bigger parties defend the status quo. In East Sarajevo, the part of the capital situated in the Republika Srpska, the local mayor is Dodik's party candidate. During a rally with party activists, he raises fears of a unified state in which the Serbs would become a minority. They could lose their local domination. The whole platform is centered on ethnicity. Other issues are secondary.
I to je onaj koncept koji Bošnjaci zagovaraju. Da imaju centralizovanu jedinstvenu državu u kojoj će jedan čovjek biti jedan glas. Kad je jedan čovjek jedan glas sa 2 miliona Bošnjaka, to znači da oni preglasavaju koncept 2 entiteta i 3 konstitutivna naroda. Kad ga preglasaju, nema ni Republike Srpske.
The Dodik team doesn't rely on fear alone. They also count on the support of powerful allies like Aleksandar Vučić, the president of Serbia, Milosevic's ex-minister of propaganda. In fact, during the campaign, most parties rely on these visits from foreign heavyweights. Turkish President Erdogan regularly visits the tomb of Alija Izetbegović in Sarajevo, a welcome show of support for the SDA, the dominant Bosniak party. The dominant Croatian party, too, the HDZ, counts on foreign guest stars to boost its importance. In Jajce, a small, rather mixed historical town in western Bosnia, Croatian flags are everywhere. Dragan Čović, the untouchable head of the HDZ, has staged his rally with great care. First stop, a mass in a newly built Catholic church. Then comes the day's special guest, Zoran Milanović, the president of the neighboring Croatian Republic, on an express visit from Zagreb, is welcomed in front of the local monument for Croatian veterans. Nationalist and populist, Milanović positions himself as a protector of his Bosnian cousins, supposedly robbed of their rights and their own state entity.
Ja kao predsjednik Hrvatske Republike, kao predstavnik Hrvatske Republike, moderne evropske države, članice NATO-a, članice Europske unije, mogu reći da to Hrvatska neće nikad podržati i ne samo da neće nikad podržati, nego će se energično, svim sredstvima, svim miroljubivim sredstvima boriti protiv toga. Bosne i Hercegovine bez ravnopravnih Hrvata, Bošnjaka i Srba nema.
Ja mislim da Dayton žurno moramo mijenjati. Ne možemo mi sa ovakvim Daytonskim sporazumom i uređenjem svih onih aneksa Daytona, prije svega aneksa 4 koji je Ustav, ići ka Europskoj uniji. Ja osobno sam zagovornik da OHR treba izmjestiti svoje djelovanje iz Bosne i Hercegovine. Mislim da je to trebalo raditi već u zadnjih 5 ili 6 godina. Tako da ja mislim da OHR što prije treba zatvoriti svoja vrata ovdje.
In what other European countries do so many foreign states interfere during elections? With each new crisis, the world frets about whether Bosnia and Herzegovina will survive. But beyond threats and provocations, what makes the country unstable are the very institutions derived from Dayton.
Democracies are based on the principle of individual rights.
In the United States, we have Republicans and Democrats. In other countries, there are Greens, maybe there are communists, maybe there are nationalists. The thing about Dayton is it enshrines not a liberal democracy based on individual rights, but an ethnocracy based on group rights. There are many people, especially in the Muslim-Croat Federation, who do not view themselves as ethnic actors, who want to engage in politics, who may be interested in climate change, who are interested in other forms of civil rights and not only ethnic rights.
Civil society has been fighting for years for more democratic institutions. But to change the constitution, one needs the support of elected officials. Many members of the parliament and the presidency who base their careers on just these ethnic identities see little interest in that.
Every now and then you have a political actor who is interested in crossing ethnic lines, but they don't have institutional incentives to cross ethnic lines, to seek the votes of people outside of their ethnic group. When you have politicians who moderate, you have more extreme political actors outbidding the moderate political actors, saying, you are not sufficiently representing our group. We are the true representatives of this group. And so in the end, you have, as a result of these institutions, we have politicians tending to push toward extremist views.
This type of fragile ethnic-based regime, Bosnia, but also Lebanon, Iraq, Afghanistan, often need long-time support from the international community. To arrive at these conclusions, Lise Howard questioned numerous diplomats involved in the Dayton Accords.
When I was interviewing people about the process, it surprised me the extent to which they actually agreed with this analysis. And Richard Holbrooke himself, in his memoir, expressed an expression of regret that the American negotiators simply adopted of this rigid ethnic idea without reflecting on it, particularly what it would mean for the long run in Bosnia. The Dayton Accords tend toward crisis, but it's not just Dayton. It's actually all regimes that are set up this way. They tend toward immobilism, and they tend toward an inability to come to political decisions.
No one knows if another agreement would have been possible while putting an end to the massacres. But 30 years later, the Dayton legacy is heavy.
Iako smo mi svi, ja osobno sam nosio tu gorčinu jer sam znao zapravo šta je u suštini stvari. Dobit ćemo mir i tako dalje, ali ostaćemo u političkom ratu i ostali smo evo do dana današnjega.
If Bosnia wants to become an EU member, it will also have to eliminate all discriminations against those who identify as neither Serb, nor Croat, nor Bosniak. Jakob Finci is Jewish. Several times since 2009, he has filed with other minority leaders a complaint before the European Court of Human Rights. Each time, the court in Strasbourg has condemned Bosnia, but these decisions have never been enforced.
Tako da su na ovim izbornim sistemom nekoliko stotina hiljada građana Bosne i Hercegovine onemogućeni u svom pravu da budu birani u najviše organe. Očito je da se svi drže Ustava kao pijan plota, kako se kaže na našem jeziku. Jednostavno, svi se boje da uđu u neke promjene jer ne znaju kako će se te promjene odraziti na njihovu sadašnje učešće u vlasti.
In Brussels, the EU remains worried by Bosnia's troubled situation. A spillover of the war in Ukraine has been avoided, But for Tineke Strik, a Dutch MP and Balkans expert, the structural reforms needed for the country to join the EU are still a long way off.
The most important thing, of course, is that the political leaders really want this accession. If they have an interest in the status quo, because of the corruption, because of keeping their own power, we will never get there. The 14 key priorities that were set as clear conditions to Bosnia-Herzegovina, actually none of them has been met. I think the political gesture is good, but now they need to show that they are ready to perform.
The European MPs have invited the High Representative to explain his reforms, which have sometimes been strongly criticized in Brussels and Berlin. This session takes place behind closed doors. Christian Schmidt defends himself.
Was passiert eigentlich, wenn das geostrategisch interessante, zersplitterte Südosteuropa, wenn das keinen Zugang zur europäischen Integration findet? Wer greift dann nach dem Vakuum, das da ist? Wer hier geht, wer den Dayton-Vertrag sozusagen einrollen würde, der muss wissen, dass er ein Vakuum erzeugt, das geostrategisch richtige Konsequenzen haben kann, denn dann wäre das freies Feld für manche andere destruktive Intervention.
The EU remains by far the largest economic partner of the Balkans. The problem is that politically, the divisions of Bosnia are also present in the European Parliament.
It's very visible in the European Parliament that there are different groups. If you look at the Croats, for instance, no matter which party, they all support the Croatian efforts to intervene in Bosnia-Herzegovina. It's cross-party nationalistic support. So I think this is really a toxic cocktail, and we need to have more unity in the EU in order to combat the foreign interference from third countries. If we are already split, and we are in this way actually fueling the division between the three groups in Bosnia-Herzegovina, how will we be successful in combating the influence of Mr. Putin, for instance, or Turkey, or China? I mean, there are so many who make advantage of this chaos and this empty landscape. I think the EU really has the obligation to serve those people and not the political leaders with their own self-interest.
Milorad Dodik and his friends have good reasons to be pleased. The October 2022 elections, featuring results of a Byzantine complexity, have strengthened his party. And a highly criticized electoral reform imposed by Christian Schmidt worked in favor of the Croats of the HDZ. To make matters worse, Dodik has staged his yearly march of the Republika Srpska, still unconstitutional, not in Banja Luka, but in East Sarajevo, just opposite the country's capital.
Sretan dan Republike Srpske. Ovo je Republika Srpska. Republika mira, okupljana, Republika slobode. Republika koja nikome ne prijeti i nikome ne želi zlo.
Politically, the country is still blocked. Dodik keeps trying to impose his secessionist laws, which the High Representative continues to suppress. Days before his parade, Dodik even gave Vladimir Putin a Medal of Honor, 1 year after Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
Ja ću nastaviti uvijek da se sretnem sa predsjednikom Putinom. Mi smo ovdje mala zajednica. Republika Srpska ima 1 milion ljudi. Ako mi sada prihvatimo sve ono što Zapad sada hoće od nas, da uvedemo sankcije, da ne damo Putinu odlikovanje, izgubili bi prijatelje koji se zovu Rusi i ne bi mogli da imamo nikakvog pristupa Savjetu bezbednosti Ujedinjenih nacija.
Alltså han kan deklarera självständighet hur många gånger han vill för Republika Srpska. Men ett land blir självständigt när det erkänns av andra länder. Och det finns inget land överhuvudtaget som är beredd att erkänna ett självständigt Republika Srpska. Framförallt, och de tydligaste är ju då Belgrad. Därmed är detta någonting som Dodik ägnar sig åt av inrikespolitiska skäl så länge han är kvar vid makten. Det vet vi inte hur länge det är.
Some suspect the nationalist parties of deliberately sabotaging the institutions in the hope that the state of Bosnia will one day collapse on its own. Meanwhile, its citizens, Bosniaks, Croats, Serbs, and others, yearn for a normal country. Over the past 10 years, emigration has been massive.
As a citizen, as I already said, it's frustrating, it's demotivating. Nobody cares about ordinary citizens. Everyone talks about national interests, legitimacy of peoples, constitutional issues, etc. And nobody's talking about everyday problems, about the economy. But at the same time, I do love this country and I want to do whatever I can to change the situation, to basically have some kind of hope that there's a chance for things to change.
Još jedna paprikica. I had few times very bad moments and I was thinking to leave. At this moment, hundreds of young people are leaving Bosnia. I'm not sure if I'm gonna leave, but I'm pretty sure that Sara will travel the world. Tako da ćemo to.
Everywhere in Bosnia and Herzegovina, villages are being abandoned. Since 2013, more than 1 in 5 inhabitants have already left the country. At this rate, soon only the elderly will remain. In Ukraine, local diplomats have already made clear they don't want any peace agreement that resembles the Dayton Peace Accords.